Hi, this is Colleen Stovall for the Florida Shakespeare Theater. In 2020, the main stage production for the 15th anniversary of Florida Shakespeare Theater will be Macbeth, and I'm very lucky because I not only get to direct it, but I'm going to design the costumes. So in order to design the costumes, I have to do a lot of research. So I go online, or I look in museums at paintings, or I come home and look in my trusty book of costume design called Rassinet's History, Complete Costume History, and I go to the page where they decide what they think ancient Scottish costumes should look like. And as I go through them, I realize they look a little machine pleated or too baggy and a little too kilty for my taste. So I think the beautiful plaids I had been thinking about are going to have to go. Think more ancient Dark Ages, Game of Thrones meets Scotland. So, putting Rassinet aside and putting the beautiful kilt fabric aside, I'm going to think about colors right now for the costumes. And we're going to look at what I've thought of for the palette, the color palette. So I'm looking at these beautiful berry colors, this russet red, which is gorgeous, this beautiful moss green, and this kind of orangey brown, which is nice, and a chestnut brown. So we're going to work with a color that's not exactly earth tones because the colors really pop, but aren't really bright anodyne modern dyed fabrics. So in addition to color, I'm also going to think a lot about texture because I love costumes that have many layers and have complicated textures. So any texture could be anything from layers, as I said, color. It could be knits of fabric like this capelet right here that was knitted and has really rich detail. We distress the costumes so they don't look like they just came out of the costume shop or out of the store. We don't buy very many, we make most everything. But we want things to have a period look and feel. This is some armor, some leather armor that was made for us that will be in the show. We're going to distress it even further than it already is. And underneath, again for texture, is this wonderful knit shirt with great sleeves. To make everything look more accurate, we're going to be doing many belts and leather straps, which will go on and around. This is a modern belt, but by the time we're done distressing, dyeing, and painting it, it will look like it's been in a Scottish mud field for 2 months. Over here is another texture that is fake fur, which we will be using a lot of. And some are sheep furs that you can see here. But these are all pretty much monochromatic colors in and of themselves. So these will all be dyed and distressed as well, so they have a more realistic look. And each one has its own unique texture. So we'll be using a lot of these as toppers for great woolen capes, which look really wonderful on the actors and help them in their performances as they wear these capes and move in them. The other thing we're going to be dealing with are royals who have to have some slight difference to their costumes. So if you look at this, these are panels that we will probably be using or duplicating of different fabrics. They still are not incredibly loud or different from the other ones we're going to be using, but they're sewn together with a nice yarn, and there is some slight touch of gold in them, in their trim, and it woven into the fabric. And of course, King Duncan will have a full-out brocade in very rich colors, again keeping in with our tones that we're picking, and this probably will have been some fabric that they had traded for from their trading partners from the east. And if we think about Lady Macbeth, I haven't really done much thinking about her because the warriors are going to be so much more work, but I'm thinking for her we're going to use this beautiful russet red in some kind of crushed velvet. And then she'll have some kind of wonderful chain to go at her waist. So that's where I am right now with the costumes. I haven't cast the cast yet, so I'm not exactly sure which actors we'll be working with. And I haven't made any patterns or built any costumes yet. This is kind of the foundation for what will end up being on this stage. So I hope you follow along with us as we build Macbeth's wonderful costumes. And then I also hope you come out in January 2020 to see the Florida Shakespeare Theater's production of Macbeth.